The Cardinals have to get the running game going on Saturday.
You are Locked On Louisville, your daily podcast on the Louisville Cardinals. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Card Nation, what's going on, everyone? Welcome into this Friday edition of the Locked On Louisville podcast. I'm your host, Dalton Pence. This is my 6th year covering U of L, 4th year hosting this show, and I want to take the time to thank you all for making us your first listen of the day. Just a reminder, Locked On Louisville, free and available on all streaming services, 5 days a week, your team every day. Don't forget to leave a comment in the YouTube section below, because as you all know, that's a great way to help this show continue to grow. It is much appreciated. Cards back in action at home, 3:30 kickoff against the 24th ranked Virginia Cavaliers. Louisville looking to move to 5-0 in the season and get a key head-to-head tie-breaking win over Virginia. How are they going to do it? We'll identify and discuss the keys to victory on both sides of the football. And also, is the Georgia home-and-home series in jeopardy? Jeff Brohm had some interesting things to say in his weekly coaches radio show, and we will react accordingly. But first, today's episode is brought to you by Mazda. Like our players, we sweat every detail, because when you make every move count, pulling off the unexpected is only the beginning. Stay tuned later for highlights in this week's Moving the Game Forward. Mazda, move and be moved. Of course, we know the storylines, discussed them yesterday. This is an opportunity to pick up a ranked victory, first ranked opponent of the season for Jeff Brohm's team. Opportunity to get a huge key head-to-head tie-breaking victory over Virginia. Both of these two teams look like they're contenders in the ACC and will be competing for that spot, or one of the two spots in Charlotte for the ACC championship game. This win would go a long way with the tiebreaker. And just overall looking to stay undefeated, moving to 5-0 overall, 2-0 in conference play. But how are they going to get there? We'll start out on offense, and I think it's pretty simple with the first key to victory on offense, and that is getting the running game going. I understand. Guys have been hurt. Isaac Brown and Duke Watson, not 100%. Barely played against Bowling Green, and they weren't full strength against Pittsburgh. Kewan Brown missed the Pittsburgh game because he was hurt. So not having your running backs room fully healthy, it does have a part to play in this Cardinals rushing attack being ineffective. However, I would contribute a lot of it to bad offensive line play. Because when you watch the game and you realize that regardless if a player is healthy or not, that if they touch the football and there's a defensive lineman right there already ready to make a play in the backfield, not really much you can do. And it has happened more often than not this season. The Cardinals with the 102nd ranked rushing attack, averaging 130.2 rushing yards per game out of 134 teams. That's not good. It's even worse when you consider the running backs you have and how the offensive identity is set up on running the football. Last week, the Pro Football Focus run blocking grade was under a 60, which is not good. Pass blocking was even worse. Now, granted, was it going to always take some time to get these portal guys to mesh? Perhaps. Have you dealt with some injuries with Trevante Sylvester and Nate Kariski, two guys that are both playing key roles for your team respectively? Of course. But it feels like this is one of those reach down deep and just go soul searching. Like, this feels like a game where if Louisville can't get the running game going against Virginia's defensive line, it's not a dominant defensive line. It currently is a defense that's 56th in the country in defending the run, but a lot of that might be because of the opponents that you face through the first couple of games if you're the Cavaliers. If you can't get the rushing attack going, if you can't get push up front against Virginia, it's just one of those things to where how many weeks are we going to sit here and consistently discuss the same things? Something's got to change. If the problem is, they're loading the box, we'll get them to not do that. I mean, it sounds kind of cliche and it kind of sounds lame when you say that, but if it is spreading out the formation, if it's running more screens, if it's beginning the game throwing the football and setting the rushing attack up off of throwing and getting into those second and short, third and short situations where you can have success running the football. Something has to change. And I'm not going to sit here and act like I know what the answers are, because if I do, I would tell the coaching staff. But of course, they are paid the big bucks to make these decisions. I think at this point, it's going to be up to the line to see what kind of production that they're going to have. I mean, at some point, you have to just come together and build chemistry, and you have to dig deep and just look at the guy across you and say, hey, I'm going to beat you in a rep, and get some push up front. Because, I mean, if you're not getting push up front, if you're allowing opposing defensive linemen to get into the backfield at will at times, like, I just don't know how you could develop any type of a running game. And that's with like literally a top 3 running back duo in the country from a talent perspective. Obviously, you don't have the production this year because of injuries and lack of run blocking, but something's got to give. Like, you have to do something differently, because whatever is happening at the moment is not working, and it's not really effective. Louisville has been able to mask over that so far and go to 4-0, but your season is getting progressively harder as you get through the upcoming weeks. I mean, Virginia is probably the best team that you played so far, and then you got Miami after the bye, and that's going to be a tough one, especially trying to run the football. Something else I think Louisville needs to make sure that they do is limit the offensive penalties. And I know that penalties have been across the board, right? They've been on special teams, they've been on defense, and I don't have the deviation in numbers, like what are the splits? Are more of the penalties on offense or defense? But from like my gut check, what my eyes are telling me is that most of the issues with penalties have been on the offensive side. That's what it seems like when you watch these games. Now, currently, the Louisville Cardinals are in a tough spot when it comes to penalties and penalty yardage. Currently, on average, they are committing around 8 penalties per game, which in turn results in 75.5 penalty yards per contest. And that just simply has to improve. Now, from last week to this week, when it comes to previewing, they've gotten a little bit better, even though that might be because of other teams rather than Louisville, because Louisville still had 9 penalties for almost 100 yards. You have to eliminate these absolutely unnecessary and absolutely inexcusable unnecessary roughness, unsportsmanlike conduct penalties, the ones that are happening after plays. Like, they gotta stop. You have to have more composure. You have to have more self-control, because it's hurting your team with field position. There have been holds on the offensive line that have taken away big yardage plays. It's just got to change. It has to get better. And in this game against Virginia, you're going up against a defense where you're going to have opportunities to move the football. But the offense you're going up against, and I'm hopeful that Louisville's defense is going to be able to defend them better than other teams have, but they haven't put up less than 31 points all season. Chances are they're going to score some points. So that means that your offense is going to have to follow suit. Got to score some points. And to make sure that that happens, you have to stop kicking yourselves. You have to stop with these absolutely unnecessary penalties. And lastly, on offense, you have to start strong. The past 3 games have all started with immediate 3-and-outs on the first possession. It has to change, because with this Virginia offense, can you afford to go down by more than 7 points and fight your way back? Because Virginia does a really good job of running the football, controlling the pace, and not to mention their passing game's not too shabby either. They put up a ton of points, 45.6 points per game. This is a explosive offense that Tony Elliott's squad has. Now, it's not just that first drive, it's getting going into a rhythm early on. Last week, it took about a full quarter for the offense to be like, oh, damn, here we go. And a lot of that was because of that kick catch controversial call, or no call, if you will, where the Cardinals got the ball inside the 10-yard line of Pittsburgh. So getting the offense going, creating some momentum, allowing the crowd to get in this game. That's what I'm looking for the Cardinals offense. You know, all eyes are on the Cardinals offense, but this is the largest test of the season by far, in my opinion, for Ron English's defense. And there are, I'll say, 4 things that Louisville needs to do, really 3, but one's 1A, 1B type situations. We will identify what those are coming up after the break. You're locked on Louisville, covering your team every day. Mazda crafts cars for those who believe it's not just about the result. It's about redefining the experience. There are moments that do more than put points on the board, just like for those that believe it's not just about playing the game. They move crowds, move culture, and keep the game moving forward. The player that moved the game forward this past week against Pittsburgh was Chris Bell. 10 catches for over 100 yards and a touchdown in this game. Had multiple big-time plays against the Panthers, especially in the second half. He was the definition of moving the game forward. When you follow what moves you, the unexpected is only the beginning. And just like there's more to every highlight, there's more to a Mazda vehicle. Mazda, move and be moved. It is right before the weekend, and it's time to look back and crown this week's MVP on Who Delivered, powered by DoorDash. Just like you can win every Saturday with DoorDash Streaks, saving more every time you order, these players delivered when it mattered most. Let's break it down for the Louisville Cardinals. Like I just mentioned, Chris Bell delivered in a huge way. Double-digit catches over the century mark with receiving yards and finding the end zone. This was a great coming out game to start the 2025 campaign for Chris Bell. And if you've been watching week after week, you know that this performance wasn't a fluke. And just like Chris Bell delivered for the Cardinals, DoorDash delivers your Saturdays with DoorDash Streaks. You save every Saturday you order. Stack it up all season, and you can save up to $250, including $100 in DoorDash credits. Order this Saturday. Keep the streak alive. Fuel your game day only with DoorDash. Terms apply. Promo period through November 18th. Thank you all so much for making us your first listen of the day. Just a reminder, Locked on Louisville, free and available on all streaming services 5 days a week, including YouTube, your team every day. Let's take a look at the defensive keys to victory for Ron English's unit. I think that the first one, when you look at this Virginia offense, is that they have a ton of big plays. Chandler Morris is a dynamic quarterback. Their rushing attack by committee is extremely effective. They've got some receivers that can make the big plays. So the first one is limiting the big plays. And that seems to be the Achilles heel for the Cardinals maybe this season, even though the defense has been really solid through the first couple of weeks. But last year, that was one of the main issues. The year before that, at the end of the season, was one of the main issues. And it's kind of because of a multitude of different reasons. Lack of communication, not knowing assignments, just completely getting beat on a route. Pittsburgh had at least four passing plays of over 30-plus yards. Now, the Kataris Hicks touchdown in the first quarter, you could argue might not have been a touchdown. That ball might have been moving as it went to the ground, but got called a touchdown. So with this attack that Virginia has, you have to force them to earn their yardage down the field. Continually force them to move the chains and make it difficult for them to do so. If you allow them to just pick up chunk yardage over and over and over again, you're putting your offense in a bad situation. And I haven't seen much from the offense to believe that the Cardinals could win in a shootout at this current moment. Now, could they? Possibly. But will they? I haven't seen anything that would suggest so, at least early on. So limiting big plays is honestly going to be a key to victory any week for this Cardinals defense. The other one for me, I think, is containing Chandler Morris. Morris isn't necessarily a dual threat quarterback. And of course, I'm going to say it again. Stop incorporating sack yardage into rushing totals. It's completely misleading. It's unfair. It skews the analysis, and it doesn't tell the full tale. It's unfair to a quarterback to include sack yardage in his rushing total. Okay, rant over, maybe for the moment. Chandler Morris has obviously been tasked by Tony Elliott to utilize his legs more than he has in his college career. Through the first 5 games, he has tied his total for rushing touchdowns. He has 4 rushing touchdowns. He's 169 rushing yards, averaging 7.7 yards per rush, and he has a long of 42. So that means, and something that the Cardinals have struggled with, maybe not this season because they haven't played a player like this year, but last year you saw it every time you played a dual threat or even mobile quarterback. Even if it wasn't a design quarterback run, the pass rush wasn't getting all the way home. They might get pressure, but how many times do we see a quarterback just step through the line and evade the pass rush and scramble for an easy first down? Way too many times to count. We saw it in the game against Bowling Green when Drew Pine did it. You've got to limit it on Saturday. Because if you allow an already potent Virginia rushing attack to be even more explosive because Chandler Morris is getting what he wants on the ground, it's going to be a long afternoon. The name of the game, and this feels pretty self-explanatory, guys, but you got to get off the field with this Virginia offense, right? Like you have to take them off the field and allow your offense to dictate the pace of play of this game. You have to control the pace of this game and control the tempo because Virginia's offense is more suited to winning a shootout game. So if you're going back and forth, you have to feel good about the Cavaliers' chances. The third thing, and this is the 1A, 1B, well, technically 3A, 3B type of thing. 3A is getting Virginia into third and long situations. Pretty self-explanatory. If you are putting teams that far behind the sticks on a consistent basis, the math and probability is going to tell you that they shouldn't be able to continue to convert. I look at it a little bit of a step further and say that if you do that, that means that you have maybe not neutralized, but severely kept in check the Virginia rushing attack that has been really good this year. The Virginia rushing attack is 12th in the country. And 3B is getting off the field on third down. Again, I feel like a lot of this is something that doesn't need to be explained, but Virginia's offense, 10th in the country in third down conversion rate. They are converting at a 57% rate. That is, that's incredible. That's really, really good. And for this Louisville defense, it feels like nothing would be more demoralizing than playing really well to start a series, but you're consistently giving up third down to the other team and having to do it all over again. Now, the Cardinals at the moment, level of competition considered, they are 23rd in the country in third down defense. They're allowing teams to convert at a 28.9% rate. I truthfully think dominating third down as a whole is a key here because Virginia is really good defensively on third down. They're 13th in the country. And the Cardinals offense, I don't think the Cardinals offense is terrible. No, they're not. Cardinals offense is 38th, converting 45% of the time on third down. Could definitely be worse. But again, dominating third down is going to be a key to victory. Look, this is a Virginia offense that we're still trying to gather data. And the analytics have shown, because Louisville is still a favorite, that they don't really buy that upset over Florida State. Like, they don't think it's something that's going to lead into the future outcomes. And I hope that the analytics are right. But until we see it on the field, it's hard not to discuss it. Virginia's offense has looked really good against NC State's defense. Now, NC State is 3-2 now. Florida State, big win against Alabama, but didn't play anybody after that until Virginia, and they lost. So maybe it's a situation of Virginia not having played great competition. They did put up 48 on Stanford. I just feel like although the offense might take a little bit of a step back, this isn't an offense that's going to be just shut down, in my opinion. So those are my keys to victory. We're going to put this preview to the side and take a look at something that Jeff Brohm said in his weekly radio show about the upcoming home and home series with Georgia. Is this series in jeopardy? I think it is. We'll explain when we come back on this Friday edition of the show. You're Locked On Louisville, covering your team every day. Peloton is shaping the future of fitness with the brand new Peloton Cross Training Tread Plus, powered by Peloton IQ. It's their most advanced equipment yet, designed to give you real-time guidance and endless ways to move, whether you're running, lifting, or cross-training with your favorite instructors. This is training reimagined. Peloton is built for breakthroughs with tools to help you plan, stay motivated, and reach peak performance. I love how the Peloton IQ system offers real-time strength coaching. It actually tracks your reps, suggests the right weights, and corrects your form, making every rep safer and smarter. So let yourself run, lift, flex, and push forward. Explore the new Peloton Cross Training Tread Plus today at One Peloton, ONE, Peloton.com. Final segment of the week. Cards back in action tomorrow against Virginia. 3:30 kickoff at Cardinal Stadium. Be sure to get your tickets and support the team. Hopefully the crowd is nice. Weather's supposed to be really good. And I would love to see a solid crowd at Cardinal Stadium. But usually when Jeff Brohm is talking to the media, I'll be honest, guys, a lot of it's coach speak. It's not just him. It's kind of how coaches are. Unless you have a flamboyant, like really outgoing and flamboyant personality, and you're known for delivering like clip-worthy quotes and press conferences, listening to press conferences is usually for determining, well, what do injuries look like? Or what does injury prognosis look like, timelines, whatnot. Jeff Brohm had something to say about the upcoming Georgia series. And it's not much, but it's extremely revealing. And I'm going to quote him right here. I don't know if I'm supposed to say this, but we want to play Georgia. We've gathered some information, or maybe I don't want to speak out of tune, but I don't know if it's vice versa. I'm hopeful that we can play the game, but I don't know where that's at right now, end quote. That's extremely telling, because Jeff Brohm is not one of those create controversy or rumors type coach. Like, he's a very matter of fact. Him saying this, it holds a ton of weight. And then Eric Crawford tweeted out something that Josh Hurd said, I think it was last week, about maybe echoing that same, I guess it would be, concern for these series to actually happen. And we wondered this. Remember, we pondered this on a past episode when the SEC decided to go to that 9-game conference schedule. What was that going to mean for the upcoming series against Georgia, against Kentucky, and against Texas A&M? Now, against Kentucky, I don't really think it's going to matter much, because SEC teams have to schedule a Power 4 opponent, and thus Louisville would be that. You would be led to believe. Georgia, they already have the yearly rivalry with Georgia Tech. A&M is not for, 2028, so we'll see what happens there. But I felt like Georgia was going to keep this on the schedule. Now, nothing's set in stone, but something's not true until it is, right? And that is kind of the vibe that I'm getting, like just the fact that there is some faltering confidence that this series is going to be played leads me to believe that at some point, eventually, it's going to get canceled. And from what Brohm says is that it seems like it's going to be one-sided. Now, don't sit here and comment, well, Georgia's scared to play Louisville, stuff like that. They're ducking the smoke. Stop. Other teams, fair game. Go ahead and do it. Georgia's like one of the few SEC teams that you can look at and say, okay, Kirby Smart is not really a coach that has ducked the smoke. They scheduled the home and home with Clemson. They're a team that is known for scheduling challenging non-conference games here and there. Not all the time, but they at least make the emphasis and effort on doing so. So Georgia's not scared to play this game. They're not. I think that this relates to their 9-game conference schedule. They're looking at this saying, you know what? Our schedule gets tougher because we play 9 SEC games now. We've already got Georgia Tech on the schedule, and Tech has taken a considerable step forward with Brent Key. And, hey, maybe it's something as simple as Georgia just wants that extra home game next year. I would get it. I would understand it, and I suppose I would respect it. I want to see these two teams play a home and home because it kind of would be kind of cool to see them play in between the hedges. But, hey, if it happens, it happens. What Alexis Cubitt tweeted out, she tweeted out that Georgia would owe, I think, $2 million. Had to make sure I saw that tweet right. For those who don't know who Alexis is, she is the Louisville football beat writer for the Courier-Journal, tweeting out that it would be around $2 million for Georgia to back out of this game. Now, would be nice to have that money. Hell, just throw it toward NIL. Would it cost a chunk of that money to schedule another team? Possibly. It is something where I would rather hear about this sooner rather than later because you are less than 12 months away from when that game is supposed to take place, and trying to fill that game is not going to be easy. Now, Louisville already has their – well, actually, that doesn't really take place until 2027, I don't believe. At least at the moment it doesn't. But if the ACC scheduling format goes into effect next year, you already have your non-conference Power 4 team on the schedule against Kentucky. So it might just be – I know it's unfortunate because it would probably go from like almost a sellout crowd to maybe a 45 to 50K crowd if you play an FCS team or even a group of 5 team. Just depends on who you schedule. So again, kind of in wait and see approach here. It feels like eventually, no inside information here, of course, but it feels like eventually this game in this series is going to get canceled. For whatever reason, I'm not sure why Georgia is wanting to get out of this. It might just be as simple as, hey, we've already got tough enough schedule. Let's go ahead and schedule an FCS team or schedule a team we're going to be projected to be by 50. Let's get another home game next year. And look, it is what it is. I'm not sitting here saying, oh, Georgia's ducking the smoke. They're scared. Kirby Smart's not scared. Let's go ahead and get that out of the way. But it depends on how does Louisville fill the schedule then? And of course, I guess we cross that bridge when we get to it, but you don't have much time. Do you schedule a conference team and make it a non-conference game like NC State and Virginia did? That's on the table. Do you try to, I don't know, because of teams having to implement another conference game and already playing one Power 4 game, is Notre Dame open to playing another home and home? Something to just keep an eye out on. Just kind of brainstorming here. But that's going to wrap up this Friday edition of the show. Everyone have a great day. Hope to see you out at Cardinal Stadium tomorrow. Go Cards.